Regularly scheduled programs will not be seen tonight so that we may bring you the NFL live and in color.
Christie kicks it high and short. Going to be fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Dishes it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50.
He's got it.
40,
He's got it.
20, 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
Welcome to Basically a Football Show.
Basically a Football Show. Bowl season is upon us, as well as Week 15 in the NFL, getting down to crunch time in the National Football League. I'm Zach alongside Greg. And Greg, bowl season started. We had some interesting bowls, some blowout bowls, kind of your typical bowls happened all over the weekend. And NFL, some playoff spots getting clinched here and there.
Yeah, I think the NFL is really the picture's getting pretty clear already, even with just 2 weeks to go. We're already pretty sure who we're going to get for the most part. Good football weekend, I thought. Some good games. Yeah. I don't know where we're going to start, but there's some good ones to talk about.
Yeah, let's start in the National Football League. We'll start quickly on Thursday in what might be the last ever football game for the Rams in St. Louis. The final color rush game of the season.
Thank God.
Ketchup and mustard win at it. The Rams win 31-23, essentially eliminating the Bucs from any late playoff contention that they might have been in. The Rams they get a win in what might be their last game as a St. Louis franchise.
About the uniforms, I loved the jersey the Rams wore.
Yes,
but that was just way too much gold going on with that look. But the jersey looked great. I love the jersey.
If the Rams come to L.A. and that's not their alternate, then they're doing something wrong. I like that as an alternate jersey a lot.
I could see that being a primary, actually. And I'd be okay with that with white pants. I think it would look real good. But either way, yeah, it was a good-looking jersey. Best of the color rush jersey so far, I think.
Yeah, so we'll see how those two teams finish off the season. But, a good run for the Bucs and sayonara, hopefully, St. Louis Rams.
On the Bucs real quick, I think they did better than we thought they were going to do this season.
This was also the battle between the two Rookie of the Year candidates, Todd Gurley and James Winston, as long as offensive Rookies of the Year. I still like Gurley to win the award, I think, over Winston, but Winston's been good.
Yeah, he has been very good. A lot better than I thought he was going to be his first season. I thought it might take him a little while to kind of catch on, but he caught on pretty quick. And, what's it, 29 of 50 for 363 yards and 2 touchdowns? Not bad for a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, when we joked last year when the Bucs were still in contention at like 2-10, we thought it was still going to be a long time before the Buccaneers could ever do anything. But I think they're on a good track now. I'm interested to see how that team progresses, how they draft this offseason, and then if Winston can continue to improve.
Yeah, Lovie Smith's done a pretty solid job with them. Give him credit.
Yep. We move on to Saturday.
Another pretty good game.
The 9-5 Jets went to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. And, the Jets made it an entertaining one. They pulled it out with a 19-16 win over the Cowboys. Move up to 9-5 to the Jets. They eliminate the Cowboys from playoff contention, thankfully.
Finally.
And the Jets are still hanging around that wild card hunt, thanks to Ryan Fitzpatrick. And the Cowboys start out with Matt Castle, and they threw in Kellen Moore of Boise State fame later in the game to test some things out. So.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that. I know we had talked about Kellen Moore still being in the league, but I'd kind of forgotten about it. I'm like, oh yeah, and
right.
I mean, at this point, you're the Cowboys. Do you give Moore a look just to see what you've got with him the rest of the way, or what? I mean, I don't know how bad Castle was injured, but why not?
Well, Castle's not your guy going forward,
right?
I think you know that, and why not try him? Because I think one way or the other, they know Tony Romo, once he gets healthy, is going to be the starting quarterback come next season, but if Romo gets hurt again, you want to know that is Kellen Moore a suitable backup? Like, in case this, nightmare scenario happens again, you don't want to end up 4-10. You want to see if the backup quarterback is decent enough to potentially carry you through an injury. And so I think they're just kind of evaluating their options, seeing if they do indeed need to either go sign a veteran free agent backup or draft one. For the upcoming seasons.
Might not be the worst idea for the Cowboys if there's a good quarterback available to draft one early and start grooming him. Because, Romo, he's going to come back, but he's not getting younger.
No.
I mean, he's going to be, 30, was he 34, 35 already?
Something like that.
Yeah. But
and with his injury history, he could deteriorate faster than some other guys.
Right. And the Jets have had a great season so far. I mean, I don't think anybody had them at 9-5 at this point in the year.
No,
so,
I mean, and you have to wonder what happens if Geno Smith doesn't get his, jaw knocked off.
Yeah.
If he's the starting quarterback at the beginning of this year, do the Jets have the same kind of success they do with Ryan Fitzpatrick? I'd probably say no.
I don't think they do. No, I really don't. I think that they got. Way back at the beginning when Ryan Fitzpatrick, when the Jets first started winning a couple of games, we said that if he could just do what needed to be done, not try to play above his head or whatever, and just do what he does, that they have enough defense and everything to make them competitive. And that's exactly what's happened with this team. They've had a great season so far.
Yeah. So the Jets, they win. They stay 9-5. They're tied with the other two wildcard teams still. But based on the tiebreaker, it's based on like win percentages and common games right now. And with the Chiefs and Steelers also winning, which we'll talk about, of course, that pushed the winning percentage in the Steelers' favor over the Jets. So the Jets are mere percentage points in a tiebreaker outside the playoff picture right now.
Wow.
Even though they all won, the Jets flip-flopped with the Steelers from 6-7. So we'll see how that plays out. And let's see, what do the Jets have the rest of the way? When it comes to their schedule and trying to make a playoff push here.
They have the Patriots.
They get the Patriots and the Bills.
Ooh, that's not going to be easy.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Patriots, if they win this week, they clinch home field throughout the AFC playoffs. They already clinched the division. They already clinched the bye, but they can clinch home field advantage with a win.
Yeah, and they're playing the Jets in that game, so that's
right.
Yeah, that's going to make it tough for the Jets. But
exactly, and I mean, I would think the Jets could end up beating the Bills, but then the Jets would have to hope that the Steelers or Chiefs slip up here, and it's probably not impossible, but more improbable than before.
Yeah,
that's too bad to get squeezed out on percentages like that, but.
Still some football to be played. Yeah, still some football to be played, and all you can do now at this point is go out and win the games that are in front of you and see what happens.
Yep. We move on to Sunday, and we'll start again with the disappointment that is the Indianapolis Colts team. Matt Hasselbeck was the starting quarterback again, and the Texans were previously 0-13 in Indianapolis. And they get their first win in Indy over the Colts, 16-10. Brandon Weeden came in relief.
I saw that.
Winning touchdown pass in the fourth quarter to lead Houston to a victory. After the game, Matt Hasselbeck said that he doesn't have too much left after getting beat up again in this game, filling in for Andrew Luck. Luck not expected to be back this week, and after the Colts, I wouldn't even bother trying to bring him back for Week 17.
There's really no point now. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, you're still mathematically alive, obviously, for the playoffs. Yeah. But as we've talked about, they're not going to go anywhere if they do get in. So why risk it? Just play out the string and be done with it. And just with the Texans, this is when you know you need a quarterback. When you're using Cleveland Browns cast-offs as your starting quarterbacks. We've had Brian Hoyer, now Brandon Weeden.
Right. Guys, Hoyer didn't play. TJ Yates started, got injured, and then Weeden had to come in because he was signed during the week.
Yeah.
And it's to lose to Brandon Weeden at home, to see a Brandon Weeden quarterback team now is probably going to win the division and go to the playoffs. Like, it's just it kind of speaks to the quality of the AFC South too. I mean, the Jags lost on Sunday, which pushed them out of contention for the division still. If they had won, they would have been right there. But the Texans are at 7-7, leading the division. They finish off with the Titans and Jaguars, I believe.
See, they should have no trouble getting to 9-7, except that you're still depending on guys like TJ Yates, Brandon Weeden, and Brian Hoyer. You do not have a quarterback, so anything could happen. But right now, they're definitely in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I could see them definitely winning in Tennessee next week, but I could also see them losing to the Jaguars in Week 17.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Colts aren't out of it technically either, but with the way Matt Hasselbeck looks, he was good for a few games there because he's a backup quarterback. But him being as old as he is, just like you said, he's got almost nothing left to give. He's put a lot of effort in this season that he probably wasn't expected to ever have to do.
Precisely. He is not designed for this. He's the guy that's there in case luck goes down for a game or two, not for an extended stretch like this. Matt Hasselbeck at his age, he can't take the beating. And that's not a knock on him. It's just he's just that old. And, it's just honestly, I'm surprised that the records are this good in this division with only 2 weeks to go. I really thought we'd be lucky to get a 7-9 team to win the division. And we're going to get at least that no matter what, I think, at this point. So,
I think because if the Jaguars were to storm back to win, they'd be 7-9. If the Texans would have to lose their last 2 games. If that were the case, Jaguars had to win their final 2 games. The Texans still could technically win the division at 7-9 if the Jaguars, lost their next game.
Yeah, but I really thought it was going to be worse than this. And right now, it's looking an awful lot like the Texans are going to get in with probably a 9-7 record.
Now they're just a bad team. It's not like even a hilariously bad, 7-9, 6-8. It's like, no. This is just a
bad team.
It's going to be a mediocre football team is going to win the division and probably going to lose their home game because they're going to have to play the Steelers or the Chiefs.
Yep.
So see how that one finishes out. But the Texans take the AFC South lead with their first ever win in Indy. Let's talk about the Jaguars, as they were the other team that was in the mix there for a minute. They lose at home to the Falcons. Falcons move up to 7-7, kind of surprisingly, I guess, based on how they played of late. 23-17. So the Jaguars effectively eliminated from the AFC South title picture.
That's the Falcons' first win in what, 7 games, something
like that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to this team. I mean, they looked good coming out of the gate, and I guess it was just all smoke and mirrors. I don't want to go back and look at their schedule, but I got to think it was just a result of their schedule that they got out to a 5-1 start, because it's not a good football team, really. And I really thought they'd turn the corner with Dan Quinn after losing Mike Smith, right? Did I get him right that time? The coach?
What, Mike Smith? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, but obviously not. But they still got a chance to finish over 500, but that's about all I can say about that. I'd like to see the Jaguars take these last 2, and who knows. But, not much to say about that game other than that.
Yeah. Let's swing over the NFC real quick. The Vikings, your Irrational Confidence Vikings, they picked it back up for a week. A 38-17 win over the Bears. Strong performance by Teddy Bridgewater. 4 touchdown passes, 231 yards in a 38-17 win over the Bears in Minnesota.
Yeah, Vikings
moved to 9-5. And I think essentially they didn't clinch a playoff berth with this game, but they essentially did. I mean, the only thing they have left to do is to win or have the Falcons lose this next week, and they clinch.
We have been in situations and seasons before where you see a team where it's like this and you go, wow, not much chance. And it's happened a couple times, but right now, everything I would bet on is that we probably have our playoff teams. It's just a matter of deciding who gets it out of the AFC between the Jets, the Chiefs, and the Steelers. And other than that, I think everything's pretty much set up. But we have seen it happen before where a team like, the Falcons all of a sudden find themselves back in it because teams fall all over themselves, but I wouldn't bet on it.
The Falcons are 7-7 with the win over Jacksonville. Minnesota's 9-5. Seattle clinched the playoff berth at 9-5 as well this week. So, I mean, it's percentage points, really. It's, a tiebreaker at the end of the season. So the Falcons would have to win their last 2 games. The Vikings would have to lose their last 2 games. And the Vikings finish off with games against the Giants and the Packers.
Yeah.
So not easy games.
No, but
both those teams need wins, obviously.
And the Packers, that could be a game for the division title. That game.
It very well could be.
Yeah.
As it stands right now. And the Falcons finish off. They play the Panthers this week, and you don't know what the Panthers are going to be putting out there right now. They still have to win another time to clinch home field advantage with the Cardinals still on their tails, and they finish off at the Saints. I mean, I don't think the Falcons, based on anything we've seen, are going to.
No, I was just pointing out that something crazy like that has happened on occasion, but I wouldn't bet on it at this point.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. So
I'm kind of surprised they're still alive, to be honest.
Yeah, I was too, because I saw that the Seahawks clinched at 9-5, but I don't know exactly how the breakdown works where the Vikings haven't clinched yet, but they can win this upcoming week with that. So the Vikings win. They stay a game behind the Packers. We'll talk about them in the afternoon slot. But we mentioned the Panthers and their march forward, and they're still undefeated with a 38-35 win over the Giants in the Meadowlands. The Panthers were up big. Panthers were up 35-7 at one point in this game. And it looked like they were going to run away with it and things were going to be easy. Giants made a furious fourth quarter comeback to tie it before Cam Newton got them in position for the game-winning field goal by Graham Gano. Panthers win. They stay 14-0, undefeated. They're only the fourth team to start 14-0 in the NFL. Every other team that's done so has gone on to the Super Bowl.
I can't. Yeah, you know what though? In this NFC this year, this is the year where 14-0 and maybe even 16-0. And I would favor them in every game they play, but there are teams in here that could knock these guys off.
Oh, sure. You know? I was just putting out the stat that's what's happened before. Right. You think about the Patriots, obviously, went 16-0 in the regular season, went on to the Super Bowl and lost. The Colts went 14-0, then lost, I think, both the last two games because Jim Caldwell decided to sit everybody for some damn fool reason. And then they went on to the Super Bowl and lost to the Saints. And then the only other team was the 72 Dolphins, who was 14-0 was the entire regular season then.
Yep.
And then they went on to win the Super Bowl at, what was the final, 17-0 for them?
17-0, yeah.
Right. And so they're the only team that has won the Super Bowl starting the season 14-0. And the Patriots are the only team. The Patriots and Dolphins are the only two teams to finish the regular season undefeated, besides where the Panthers could possibly do this year. So, do you think the Panthers go for it?
Well, you know what? I think
they do. I think that a team with like the attitude they have and a guy like Cam Newton, that's something I think they want.
The only thing I would say is that they were starting to get a little dinged up yesterday in that Giants game. Cam got hit a couple of times. You were going, oh, this could be bad. But I think with Ron Rivera and this team and with their attitude, and we brought this up a couple weeks ago, that this is a team that I just think you've got to have that rhythm. I don't think you mess with this team. You just let them keep playing. Whatever happens, happens. But don't pull a Jim Caldwell and set everybody down because this is a team that's in a groove. Let them go. And if they win, they win. And if they don't, they don't, whatever. But you know what? Don't mess with it. I say go for it and let them play.
The other thing to come out of this game was the street fight that was going on.
Oh, my God.
Odell Beckham Jr. and Josh Norman, the cornerback of the Panthers. There was a lot of hand fighting, a couple punches to the head.
It was unbelievable.
Like that. But the big thing that happened that really set this thing on a different level beyond the just fighting that was going on, Odell Beckham missed a block and came back and then dove headfirst into the side of Norman's helmet. It wasn't flagged, which is insane.
They got away with murder out there. I mean, it was unbelievable. I watched this game, man. It was just amazing to me how much extracurricular activity was going on that wasn't getting called. It was unbelievable.
I think Odell Beckham ended up with 3 unsportsmanlike penalties in the game, the most in like 5 or 10 years or something like that. But still, that hit was inexcusable. The diving back towards the play and hitting him in the side of the helmet like that.
I mean,
and as such, Beckham got a 1-game suspension. He's appealing it. But that was I understand that things can get heated out there and maybe you have an attitude with each other and you fight about it, but to dive that's intentional. That's intentionally trying to injure somebody.
Oh yeah, that was not an accident. That was exactly what he was trying to do. And any other officiating crew that was worth its salt, he would have been thrown out of the game right then and there. Right. He got suspended, but the bigger thing to me with Beckham, and this is that how much did he hurt his team with those 3 unsportsmanlike penalties?
Right.
That's 45 yards that they just didn't get back, or I don't know how down it was, I don't remember, but this is a team that ended up losing this game by 3 points. And if he doesn't, maybe one time he doesn't do that, it changes the whole scope of everything. So
yeah, and he didn't get a catch in the second half, I don't believe either. But I think
no, he had a couple in the second half.
Was it? Then he didn't get a catch in the first half.
He didn't have a catch in the first half. No.
Right. Yeah. I just think it's. I don't know if the penalties were necessarily a difference between them winning and losing. I mean, they were down 35-7.
I know, but what I'm saying is that some of the stuff that had happened, they weren't down 35-7 at that point. And he's, you just don't know. And the point I'm making is that you've got to keep your wits about you better than that because you don't know ultimately what you may have cost your team by behaving like that. But we know one thing he did cost them. He's not going to be available next week. And
he's appealing it, so he may still be playing this week, but we'll see.
Yeah, but they need him down the stretch here, and there's a chance that he might not be there. It was just dumb.
Still tight.
Yeah.
They can still win. If they win the final 2 games, they can still win the division. They need some help elsewhere. But if they win the final 2 games, they can still win the division at 8-8. Unfortunately for them, the division could be clinched this weekend when the Redskins and Eagles play. But and we'll talk about the situation later. But this is a big loss for the Giants, and it was a great comeback for them to get to where they were, but to be down 35-7 in a game of that magnitude for them was still pretty bad.
Right. And the only reason they got back in it, I think, is because the Panthers just took their foot off the gas. As simple as that. It wasn't like the Giants all of a sudden put it together.
Yeah. And again, if you look at the Giants season, there are plenty of games like this.
I heard yesterday that of their 7 losses coming into this game yesterday, 5 of them they had to lead with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think the opening week loss to the Cowboys by a point.
Yep.
The week 2 loss to the Falcons by 4 points. The Eagles, they got beat pretty badly. That Saints game, that crazy Saints game where they basically gave the Saints field position on the final play of the game. They lose to the Patriots by a point.
Yep.
They lose to the Jets by 3 points. It's amazing when you go back and look at the schedule that if things flip the other way, the Giants could be well in control of the division.
Oh, we've been saying it all season long. This division has been handed to them on a silver platter so many times, it's not even funny, and they have botched it every single time. It's hard to believe they're 6-8 at this point, really.
Even if we were in a position where Tony Romo was healthy all season, and maybe the Cowboys are a 10-win team, the Giants could have been right up there with them the whole time.
Yeah, at least in wildcard contention, if nothing else.
Right. So just kind of another example of the Giants kind of letting one get away there at the end, because they did have all the momentum. They tied it, and then they let the Panthers go right back down. But Cam Newton, 5 touchdown passes
and 100 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
Rushing. He's incredible.
If this wasn't another MVP statement game, then I don't know what is. Like, I know it's either him or Tom Brady for the MVP this season.
It's got to be. But you see,
it's got to be.
But but one argument I would make in Brady's favor is that it doesn't seem like no matter who they put out there on that Patriots team, he still gets the job done. Now, that's not saying that Cam Newton couldn't do the exact same thing, but I just got to say, the Patriots are the defending Super Bowl champions. You expected them to be this good. The Panthers at 14-0 right now, no one saw this coming. And I think Cam Newton's, if I had a vote, he's got my vote. No question about it. It's Cam Newton. It's been unbelievable the way he's played this season.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Cam is my MVP.
Absolutely, yep.
Let's keep scrolling down here. Patriots with a 33-16 win over the Titans. They clinch a first-round bye in the AFC. Kind of methodical for the Patriots. They do what they do. Tom Brady, 267, 2 touchdowns, big whoop. Move on down. We'll just skip by the Patriots because what do you say? You know who they are. They're going to win the game. They're playing the Titans.
Yep.
It is what it is. But the Redskins, or Washington, as we like to call them, they had a big win.
Yes, they did.
Sunday. A 35-25 win over the Bills. It was a competitive game with Kirk Cousins, 5 total touchdowns, 4 in the air, 319 passing, and got another one on the ground. 5 touchdowns for Kirk Cousins. You like that, Greg? You like that.
You know what? We talked about Kirk Cousins last year, and like a lot of our predictions, we were 1 year off. This guy, he's played good football. And now the talk has started. He's got to get paid. And I just hope that Washington isn't so dumb as to go out and give him some huge contract. Pay him, sure, but don't pay him for 5 or 6 years.
Right. I think they learned maybe from the RG3 situation that quarterbacks can come and go on a dime.
Yeah.
Week 1 next year, Kirk Cousins get a helmet to his knee, and then all that money goes right down the drain.
Right.
But he's, like we said, of all the teams that in that mess that is the NFC East, the Washington's been the most consistent of them.
They have. And
this was just another good win for them. And now they're in a position where all they have to do is win this Sunday, and they win the division.
That's simple, huh?
Yeah, that's simple.
Well, they cleared that up quick.
If they beat the Eagles this week, that's it. They win the division.
Wow.
Or it's on Saturday, actually. Yeah. So if Washington beats the Eagles, they win. They just have to win one of the final 2 games, and they're division champs.
Wow. Well, you're right. They are the most consistent team, and you know what? They're a fun team to watch. They're actually kind of enjoyable to watch. They have fun offense, and I don't know. The thing with these guys is, are they maybe a little bit sneaky good, or are they just taking advantage of a division that's about the same as them, and they're just playing a little bit better? I don't know what to make of them, but they're fun to watch sometimes. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. I think that they'll probably win it. Even if they don't beat the Eagles on Saturday, they're playing the Cowboys in Week 17. And I gotta think that anybody can beat the Cowboys at this point, right?
You would think.
Like, even if you put the Titans out there, the Titans could probably beat the Cowboys.
I mean, at that point in the season, the Cowboys are just looking to get their bags packed and go home. They're not worried about anything other than that. So, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Let me ask you this about Washington really quick.
Sure.
Do you think they're sneaky good enough to knock off a team like, say, the Packers in the playoffs or the Vikings? I think they could do it.
The Vikings, I could see. The way it would shake out right now, if the playoffs started today, they'd be hosting Seattle.
Oh, God.
And the way Russell Wilson's been playing, if Russell Wilson had been playing the way he's played in the last month, if he'd been playing like that all season, he'd be right in the MVP talk as well.
Yep.
But if they host Seattle, no way. If they host the Vikings, maybe. If they host the Packers, I have more faith in Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day.
I just think they're sneaky good enough, though, that even if they'll probably get in with the 9-7, maybe 8-8. But I think they're sneaky good enough that with the right matchup, they could knock somebody off. I think they're close enough to do that. I don't know if I'd bet on it, but I think they are sneaky good enough to pull it off. They're going to be an interesting team to watch as this thing progresses.
Yeah. I mean, Kirk Cousins playing obviously the best football of his career right now. Deshaun Jackson's still a threat on the outside, and Alfred Morris is a very solid running back at the end of the day. So I think they very well could, sure. But no, I don't. If they played Seattle, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not like it.
They would have to hope for the Vikings.
If it was the Seattle from the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, I'd say sure. But the way they're playing right now, no, not likely.
So we'll move on down. We'll move from one end of the Beltway to the other. And obviously the Redskins, they were at home. They were wearing their gold pants. So were their friends up in Baltimore. Before we talk about this Chiefs-Ravens game, Greg.
What the hell was that?
What the hell was that indeed? They've never worn gold pants ever.
Honest to God, I tuned into that game and I'm like, why are they wearing the Steelers pants? Because that's what it looked like to me.
Right. It wasn't even like gold. It was mustard yellow, essentially. Yeah. And they had the black helmet, purple jersey, gold pants, and black socks. It just didn't terrible.
It didn't work at all. I mean, I don't mind the idea of trying out gold pants, but boy, the shade of gold they chose, it just didn't look right at all.
And it just came out of nowhere too.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the Ravens are wearing gold pants today. I was like, what?
I never even knew they had gold pants.
No, they don't. This is the first time they've ever worn them.
Well, and again, to me, from a distance, it looked like they were wearing the Steelers pants. That's what it looked like. Like the uniforms had gotten mixed up or something. I wanted to like it. I thought it was a cool idea, but I looked at it. I said, the color just does not work. They don't have enough gold in their overall scheme to really go that far along with it. But okay,
right. As a trim color, it works, but it's not prominent enough anywhere else to warrant it being part of the a major piece of equipment.
No, and had they gone with the white pants with the rest of that uniform, this game would have been one of my top 5 of the week, but not now.
and the other thing, when your primary rival is black and gold, you probably don't want to wear a color that would make you look kind of like them.
They, really, if they looked a lot like the Steelers, except they had purple jerseys. That was about the big difference, really. It didn't work at all. Bad look. Yeah. Bad look.
But bad look for the Ravens in the uniform department. Bad look on the field as they lose again. Jimmy Clausen was the starting quarterback for the Ravens today. I didn't even realize he was on the Ravens or that he got another job somewhere. I guess he rescued Matt Schaub from throwing another pick six, so he did it himself.
I'll say this with Clausen. They had a nice Hail Mary at the end of the first half in that game.
Right. They got that Hail Mary at the end of the first half to cut it to 24-14. Joy of joys. But the Chiefs, they're on a roll. 8 wins in a row for the Chiefs. They're 9-5 now with a 34-14 win over the Ravens. If I'm Cincinnati or, the Texans, I don't want to play any of the wild card teams to come out because the Steelers are hot.
Yep.
The Chiefs are hot. And, the Jets are going to give you a hell of a time too with that defense. So The Chiefs 8 wins in a row after starting the season 1-5.
Yeah, well, you've got three of the three teams that are at the top of the wild card race in the AFC. All three of them are very good. And all three of them are capable of making some noise in the playoffs, and I don't think you want any part of them. But the two that you really don't want any part of are the Chiefs, and I think especially the Steelers. The Steelers are just putting it together at the right time of year, and it's, what was it, in the 2005, 2006, when they came in as a wild card and just ran the table and beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl?
2005, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're starting to look like right now, and no, I don't want any part of them. They're the AFC version of the Seahawks right now. That's just a team you just don't want to play.
Yeah, just on a roll. And again, not a flashy team, but they get it done. Alex Smith is playing very efficient football right now.
Yeah.
And they're running the ball well. And
Travis Kelce's having a hell of a season for the Chiefs, too. He's doing a good job.
Yes. Yeah. The Chiefs are doing it right now. But didn't think we'd see that after them starting 1-5, but things have shaped out well.
No, I was just beating myself up going, why didn't I go with the Jets as my new AFC team? But now I'm pretty happy with my choice. My Kansas City Chiefs.
Your Kansas City Chiefs.
Or as I call them, my chefs. Yes, my chefs. Yes. Go get them, chefs.
Let's move to the afternoon, and we'll start with your Cleveland Browns, Greg. Going on the road to Seattle. Not a bad-looking, game in total, but the Seahawks get a 30-13 win over the Browns. They clinch a playoff spot, and they can't clinch the NFC West anymore thanks to what the Cardinals did later in the night. But Seahawks going back to the playoffs after a murky start. They've made a nice run of things here, especially Russell Wilson, 249 with 3 touchdowns against the Browns.
If you had to rank the NFC teams right now, I think I'd put the Seahawks at least top 3, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd put, I think Panthers are clearly the first.
I think if I did it right now, I would do Panthers, Cardinals, and probably Seahawks after that.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. I would probably do that too. Like we said, Washington doesn't want to have to play the Seahawks at home, and they're probably going to have to. And you don't want to see if you're. I don't even know if you're the Panthers if you necessarily want to see the Seahawks.
I think anybody wants to see them right now. I don't like this at all. I wanted them to go away all season, and they just won't do it. And now all of a sudden, I'm looking at them going, they're good enough to take this thing all the way. But yeah.
As we talked about these two teams, and we'll bring in the Steelers in a minute too, but we talk about the teams that are hotter than anybody else in either of their two conferences. We're on a crash course for the Super Bowl I'd least like to see at this point. Steelers and Seahawks, if that's the case, if those are really the two hottest teams in each conference.
The one I'd least like to see is a rematch of last year, Patriots, Seahawks. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, Steelers, Seahawks is a very real possibility right now. It's just, the Seahawks team just scares me to death because they were just floundering. They were winning games, but you were looking at them going, they're so beatable. And man, all of a sudden the switch just flipped. And I don't know if they've looked this good offensively since they've gotten this good. I think this is the best they've looked on offense since the whole thing started.
Yeah, Russell Wilson has 19 touchdowns and no interceptions over the last month.
Yeah.
Or since the beginning of November, I think. Cam Newton's the only one just as good. He's been 18 touchdowns with 1 interception over that span. Someone like ESPN put a graphic comparing the last month and a half for both Cam and Russell Wilson, and they're basically equal. Russell maybe even has a slight advantage in some of those stats, and that's scary that the Seahawks are now on the roll they are. But
do you think that losing Jimmy Graham might have been the best thing to happen to this offense in the past month and a half? Because now they don't have to try to fit him into the scheme anymore. They just play their game, and all of a sudden, boom, look at him.
Maybe, but even when the game that Jimmy Graham got hurt, he had 2 touchdown catches, right? He'd gotten into the offense, and they finally figured out how to use him, and then he got injured. But they've still been on the roll since then. So. And it
seems like it doesn't matter who they roll out there to play running back. The guy just puts up yards. We had, we lost Marshawn Lynch a while back. Then Lou Rawls came in and was doing his thing. Well, it's really Thomas Rawls, right? No, Lou Rawls is the singer, but anyway.
It's Thomas Rawls, yeah.
Yeah, and then this new guy, I don't know. This team just scares me to death. I do not want them anywhere near my Packers under any circumstances.
Yeah. So we'll see how the Seahawks can finish out the season. They clinch the playoff spot. They're probably going to be the top wild card when it all comes said and done. So we'll see how that plays out for Seattle. we move down the West Coast, down to Oakland, where your Packers had a hell of a time with the Raiders for a little while there before pulling away. Raiders put up a big fight. Derek Carr, another great game for him. The Raiders keep looking better and better. They're also a few tight games if they swing the other way from maybe being in wild card contention as well. But Packers pull one out late, 30-20 over the Raiders in Oakland. What did you see from your pack?
I tell you what the Packers are. They are the Raiders, except that they've had the breaks go their way in these games. I don't know if they're significantly better than the Raiders. I don't know if they're significantly better than some of the other teams that have just had a couple bad breaks. They're just a team that's getting the right bounces this year. This is not. They're pretty good, but I don't see these guys as a serious threat to anybody in these playoffs. I mean, sure, if you play them at home, they're going to be tough, but there's a lot of problems there, and I don't know that they're going to be able to fix it. I mean, the defense has played okay. The running game's starting to come around, but Aaron Rodgers he's still Aaron Rodgers, but man, oh man, they've just got some issues that a good Packers team, this game shouldn't have ever been this close, but they're just, they're scaring me. They've got issues, and they're not as good as people. They're not as good as their 10-4 record would indicate. Not even close.
Well, here's an interesting bit of schedule, right? So right now, Packers are 10-4. They're a game ahead of Minnesota, who's 9-5. They play each other in the last week of the season for potentially what could be an NFC North title game, and then based on the way the standings work out, those two teams could play again in the first round. Like if the playoffs started today, Green Bay would play Minnesota.
Okay.
And they play each other in the final week of the season for the NFC North title. Just, it's kind of a weird circumstance where, the Packers could lose the division to the Vikings one week and then beat them in the playoffs on the road the very next week.
That's the way it would have to happen, because it's very difficult to beat a team 3 times in a season. And if it goes the other way and the Packers win and the last game of the year.
Well, didn't the Packers beat Minnesota?
They beat them once. They beat them pretty handily a few weeks back. But if this plays out this way, they'd have to beat them 3 times essentially. And that's just hard to do.
And it's different where we've seen it a few times where the last matchup of the season ends up being the first round matchup too. But usually it's already confirmed. And so teams kind of play a vanilla game.
Mm-hmm.
If that's still for the division title at home field, both teams are going to go all out.
Yep.
And then you're going to go back and play that team, the very same team, again the next week.
Yep.
It's just going to be an interesting little turn of events if that plays out that way.
Yeah. Usually it's the Ravens and somebody that's always the matchup that they played the week before. Seems like.
I remember the Cardinals and Packers did the same thing before that crazy overtime game with the sack fumble for the win for the Cards. What was that? 5-7 years ago now?
Something. It's been a while. Yeah.
But anyway, we'll move on from Oakland over to Pittsburgh. The Steelers hosted the Broncos, and the Broncos looked good in the first half. Brock Osweiler was clicking. Broncos were up 27-13 at halftime, and then the Steelers found themselves in the second half.
Boy, did
Ben
they!
Roethlisberger, 383 touchdowns. Antonio Brown, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns. As the Steelers rally to beat the Broncos, 34-27, and the Steelers are hot. And the Broncos now only have a 1-game lead in the AFC West over the Chiefs with this game.
Yeah, the thing with the Broncos, I mean, you get up 27-13 with that defense you've got, you should win, I would think. But this Steelers team, man, and Antonio Brown, 16 catches in this game. I don't know how many times he was targeted, but he caught 16 of them. And the Steelers team, they're very hard to beat at home. So I don't know that, you want to blame the Broncos defense a little, but a 14-point lead on the Steelers in Pittsburgh isn't what it would be in a lot of other places. So I'm not going to beat up the Broncos too bad over this, but this was a game they probably needed, but the Steelers needed it more, and I don't know. The Broncos, they could end up being a wild card team right now, which I don't think 3 weeks ago would have ever guessed in a million years.
Right, because here's how it breaks down. The Chiefs are a game behind Denver right now, and the Chiefs host the Browns and the Raiders for the last 2 games of the season, whereas Denver hosts the Bengals and the Chargers the last 2 weeks of the season. Both games winnable for both teams. I think the Broncos. I mean, AJ McCarron didn't look half bad for the Bengals, and we'll talk about them right next. Do you think the Bengals can knock out the Broncos in Denver, though?
Wow, I don't know. I mean, AJ McCarron on the road in Denver, that's a tall order, but At this point in the season, anything can happen. I'd have to stay with the Broncos in that because they're at home. But if you flip the script and put the Broncos in Cincinnati, I like the Bengals' chances in that game. But it's at home, so I think the Broncos will be okay. But, like A.J. McCarron himself said, this is the way Tom Brady got started. So if he really is the next Tom Brady, well, this would be a good place to prove it, I suppose.
Yeah, after kind of a lackluster first 2/3 of the NFL season, things are really going to kick into high gear here over these last couple of weeks. It's shaping up for some good matchups, some intriguing storylines. We mentioned the Bengals. A.J. McCarron in his first starts for the Bengals gets 21 points in the second quarter. The Bengals go on to an easy victory over the 49ers, 24-14. The Niners tried to control the Bengals a little bit by painting the throwback end zones to when they beat them in the 80s. But the Bengals pretty easy win over the 49ers.
And we have our first Alabama quarterback to get a win as a starter since Jeff Rutledge from last week.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, but the Bengals, I believe, does that clinch the AFC North for them?
Well, they're 11-3, and the Steelers are 9-5 with 2 to play. So.
Let's see.
Who's got the head-to-head in that, though?
The Bengals can clinch the AFC North and a first-round bye with a win this week, and can clinch the North with a Pittsburgh loss.
Who do the Bengals play this week? I know they have Cleveland in one of their last 2.
The Bengals play at the Broncos this week, and then they host the Ravens.
Oh, okay. So who am I thinking? Oh, maybe the Steelers have the Browns in one of their last 2 then. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But so the Bengals just need a win in one of their final 2 games to clinch the division.
And there's also talk, too, that Andy Dalton could be back by the playoffs, which is great news for Cincinnati fans. So
yeah,
they just got to hang on and get there.
Pittsburgh finishes up at the Ravens and at the Browns.
That should be 2 easy wins for that team. So you're looking at the Steelers definitely going to be 11-5.
And as I opened up the Steelers page, there was a little article about the Ravens' gold pants for some reason.
Okay.
Supposedly, the gold pants were supposed to be a nod to the team's 20th anniversary.
Okay.
Coach John Harbaugh says that this was in the works all the way back to last season. It was for our 20th anniversary season. If we'd been a little better, you might have seen them a little bit sooner. That was a nod to the tradition.
Okay, whatever.
The problem is the gold color has never played a prominent role in the Ravens tradition.
Yeah, and it's
as it says in here. Yeah,
it just was just weird. You can justify it however you want. It was just ugly. There's no 2 ways about it.
The players like it. There was something different. I didn't take a vote to see who liked them and who didn't. They were excited to be out there with a little different look.
Okay. NFL players clearly not terribly concerned about fashion, I guess.
Is the 20th anniversary the gold anniversary?
No, that's the 50th, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
This is the 20th. This is their 20th season in Baltimore. That's correct. That part is right.
Right. Whatever, Baltimore.
I was trying to think too, is this the anniversary of the weekend that they said they were moving, but it wasn't. That happened in November. So, and technically they didn't start play in Baltimore until 96.
Well, it's their 20th season.
All right. Okay. I don't like. I like it better when they do the actual. Okay, we did this in whatever of 95, and now it's 2015. This is 20 years, but okay, whatever.
Right. I agree. Last game on the Sunday afternoon slate. What is possibly the final game in San Diego? The Chargers had a pretty good day to finish out what could be their tenure in Qualcomm Stadium. 30-14 win over the Dolphins. Not a big consequential game in terms of the standings, but a nice win for the Chargers. Danny Woodhead, 4 touchdowns in the game for Chargers.
Not bad.
What was it? Phil Rivers was emotional in his post-game news conference. This one seemed like it had a little bit more finality, especially in terms of the interviews and how the players reacted and how the fans reacted than compared to what happened in St. Louis on Thursday. And I'm going to say it again. I'm not trying to be biased by me specifically wanting the Rams coming in, but just the response that I've seen from San Diego and the actions of the fans, that's a town that deserves to have its NFL team more than St. Louis does.
I agree completely, and there's that, and I don't think that Los Angeles particularly wants the Chargers.
We don't.
I think Mike talked about it a couple weeks back on basically a sports show, that it's, number 1 is the Rams. Then you've got the niche group that would love to have the Raiders, and no one cares about the Chargers. And Los Angeles has shown for 20 years now themselves that they survive just fine without the NFL. I don't think the Chargers are going to be the thing that saves it all if they show up there. I think that to get LA fully back into the NFL, you've got to give them a team they want, and the Chargers isn't it.
Yeah,
so I don't know why they can't get a deal done in San Diego, but then I saw a thing too where Jay Glazer said that as it stands right now, the Chargers have the most support from NFL ownership to be the team to move to Los Angeles, which I think is dumb.
Right, because the owners like Dean Spanos, and you go just kind of cursory glances through Facebook articles and things that have been posted. Chargers fans don't want anything to do with Dean Spanos anymore.
No, I can't say I blame them.
They and I don't blame them either, but they're not going to sell the team even if they stay in San Diego. So unfortunate, but hopefully that's not the last game of the San Diego Chargers. But it definitely had that air to it, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
On the Sunday night, where the Cardinals, they played great. They played really well. Beat the Eagles 40-17. Clinched the NFC West with a win. Clinched their first 12-win season in franchise history.
I did not realize that until they said that last night, that was the first time they'd ever won 12 games.
Yeah, I thought that when that year they went to the Super Bowl, I thought they'd had 12.
No, they were
9. They had 11.
Yeah. No, they were 9-7 the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Right, but I know that they had better seasons than that, and so I assumed that they had gotten to 10 or 11.
I want to say they had a couple of 10-win seasons back when they were in St. Louis in the 70s, but that was a 14-game season. But yeah, this is a really, really good football team that when you're in the same conference as the Panthers, who are going undefeated, and the Red Hot Seahawks, and then you've got just the Packers because they're the Packers and all that, they're getting kind of lost in the shuffle. But this is a really good football team they've got in Arizona.
The more and more I watch this Cardinals team, the more and more I like them. Mm-hmm. They clinched the NFC West, and they clinched a first-round bye with a win or a Packers loss. The seedings as they stand again, we'll just go through real quick. Patriots clinched the division. They've already clinched the bye. They can clinch home field with a win. They're the first seed. Bengals clinched the playoff spot, can clinch the NFC North with a win. I think they can clinch a bye as well if they beat the Broncos on Monday night this week. Broncos in third. Texans now lead the AFC South at 7-7. The wild card spots in the AFC are the Chiefs, Steelers, Jets, all at 9-5. Panthers 14-0, leading the NFC. They're gonna get the top seed no matter what, I think. Cardinals clinch the NFC West over the weekend. They can clinch first round bye with a win over the Packers this week. Packers clinch the playoff spot. There are 10-4, leading the NFC North. Washington 7-7, but they can clinch the NFC East with a win on Saturday. Seattle clinches the playoff spot. They are the first wild card at 9-5. Minnesota also 9-5. Atlanta 7-7, barely in the picture, and I think that's the NFC. The race for last, as it stands right now. Cleveland and Tennessee are tied at 3-11. Tennessee has the tiebreaker.
Oh,
last place team in the league. We move on to college, and it's that time of year, Greg. It's Capital One Bowl Fortnight. I don't even know if this is sponsored by Capital One anymore, is it?
Yeah, it's still Capital One Bowl Week, believe it or not.
Do they still call it Bowl Week, or I think it's just Bowl Season now?
Is it just Bowl Season?
I think they've changed it to Bowl Season.
I liked it better as Bowl Week, despite the fact that it was much longer than a week. I always got a kick out of that.
I think they realized that that's silly, and they stopped.
It had never been Bowl Week. It had always been longer than that. I don't understand, but okay. I
don't know either, but anyway. The bowl season started on Saturday, December 19th, and there was actually some entertaining games. We'll start with probably the most entertaining game of that Saturday, though, the Utah-BYU game. First off, we called it, by the way, or I called it. I said, it'd be so nice if they could go color on color in this game, and damn it if they didn't do it. BYU busted out the royal blue throwbacks. Utah went all red, unfortunately. But
if Utah had just gone red over white, that would have looked fantastic.
Yeah. So BYU with the royal blue jersey, Utah all red. Utah went up 35-0 in the first quarter off a bunch of turnovers by BYU. Just kept giving the ball right back to the Utes. And I guess Brent Musburger, our old friend, got a little bit of controversy when that happened.
Oh, no.
Utah's up 35-0 in a game between two schools from Utah. So Musburger chimes in with, I really feel bad for my Mormon friends at BYU. They don't drink. I love Musburger.
He's the greatest.
He's awesome. So Utah was up 35-0, and at that point you just say, write it off, game's over. BYU made this thing a game.
Yes, they did.
Utah did not score the rest of the game. BYU got touchdowns in each of the second and third quarters, 14 in the fourth, and made it a one-score game in the fourth quarter. But Utah was able to hold on for a 35-28 win over their former rivals. That's a fun game. That's a fun bowl game. Despite how it started off, you think, 35-0, I'm going to change the channel. It got a game, and that's the fun part of bowl season.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people complain about the number of bowls, but one of the cool things is that, yes, this is a meaningless exhibition game. There's no other way to put it. But sometimes they're just really fun, entertaining football games, and that's all they're designed to be, and this was one of them. That's what I love about the bowl season. Yeah, this year we had too many teams because we've got 5 and 7 teams being a part of it, but there are games like this where you just go, this is just a good football game to watch. Doesn't matter if it means anything or not. It's just a good game to watch, and this is one of them.
That was in the Royal Purple Las Vegas Bowl.
Yeah, I still think it's hysterical that they bring 2 predominantly Mormon schools into Las Vegas. That just kills me.
There's a lot of Mormons around Las Vegas.
Yeah, but you want, when you've got fan bases traveling, you don't want the ones that don't drink and don't gamble coming to town and don't even drink caffeine.
Yeah, they buy hotel rooms.
That's true. They do that.
They buy hotel rooms. We'll move on to the Gildan, New Mexico Bowl, where the New Mexico Lobos got to host the game in their own stadium against the Arizona Wildcats, but the Wildcats were not hospitable visitors. They came in and knocked off the Lobos 45-37. So Arizona finishes the season at 7-7.
Still think that game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think the Lobos could hang with Arizona like that. So not bad showing by the Lobos at all.
No. In the pre-show, you mentioned your Ohio State Bobcat, or your Ohio University Bobcats. Excuse me, Greg.
Yeah.
In the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl down in Montgomery, Alabama. Or is that Birmingham?
I think it's Birmingham.
Alabama. Appalachian State gets a bowl victory. Appalachian State, look at you. Remember when you were playing playoff games this time of year?
Yeah, they're their second season as a FBS school, Division I school, and look at them go. Already got a bowl win.
They get the 31-29 win over the Bobcats. 11-win season for the Mountaineers of Appalachian State.
Not bad at all. And the Bobcats, from my understanding, I didn't watch much of this, but my understanding was that the Bobcats were in control of this thing for a while and just let it get away from them. Pretty devastating loss for the Bobcats.
I mean, they had it. It happened all season. If they just kept in those games, maybe they didn't even play for the playoff right now. But
yeah,
alas.
Okay, probably not. Probably not.
You don't think so?
Nah.
All right. Anyway, moving on down. The Auto Nation Cure Bowl. Georgia State played in its first ever bowl game, and they lost to San Jose State, who was a 5-7 team coming into this one. They get the 27-16 win in Orlando at the Citrus Bowl over Georgia State, the Cougars.
The thing I'm interested about this game, we talked about it last week, was the attendance. I said I was curious to see if it would break 10,000, and I want to see if I can find out if that actually happened.
Check the box score.
That's what I'm looking for here. Let's see. Box score. It doesn't say.
Game information on here?
It doesn't say.
Let's try recap. Summary. Maybe it's in summary. No. Team stats. Game information.
18,000. That's pretty good, really, for those two.
26%.
That's pretty good for those two. I didn't expect it to be that high. They put almost 20,000 people in there. Good job, guys.
Yeah. Sure. So let's move on to the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Louisiana Tech knocked off the Arkansas State Red Wolves 47-28 in the Superdome. I saw a little bit of this game late the other night. It was actually a nice-looking uniform matchup. Louisiana Tech has some pretty nice uniforms.
Yeah.
And I got there in the New Orleans Bowl. And just one bowl game today, Monday the 21st. The Miami Beach Bowl played at Marlins Park. It actually wasn't a weird-looking game. I thought the football field actually fit nicely into Marlins Park for what it was. But the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers knocked off the South Florida Bulls 45-35, a 12-win season for Western Kentucky.
Wow. Way to go, Hilltoppers. I think I had the Bulls in this game. I think I picked the Bulls last week.
I think you did.
Yeah.
I believe you did. Yeah. So we look forward to the rest of the bowl games for the next week. A lot of bowl games over this Christmas week. We'll start tomorrow night, or tomorrow afternoon, I should say, in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. The Akron Zips taking on the Utah State Aggies.
I like the Aggies in this one.
Blue turf.
I like the Aggies in this one. Yeah,
You're not going to go for the home state Zips?
Nah, I don't even know how the Zips.
The only female mascot in Division I college football?
Yeah, I know. Zippy the Zip, yeah. No, I like Utah State in this one. I think the Aggies are a pretty good team. I think that, what's his name? The kid that was the quarterback there forever is finally gone. Chucky Keaton, I think his 8th year of eligibility.
He got injured, I believe.
Oh, so he was still around?
He got injured at the beginning of the year, yeah.
Oh, geez, I thought he was done. Well, then he's going to be playing like his 9th season for Utah State next year.
Well, no, I think he's lost his eligibility.
Oh, okay. All right.
But, yeah.
He's been around a long time. I know that. But, no, I like Utah State in this one.
Yeah. And it's a shorter trip for Utah State to Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
We got some sponsorship up there after all
Probably
those years.
A lot of kids in Akron that are going to make their one and only trip in their lifetimes to Idaho, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, sure. Speaking of kids from Ohio going somewhere, but they probably are more likely to go here than anywhere else. Temple will go down to the Marmot Boca Raton Bowl to take on your Toledo Rockets, Greg, in the FAU football stadium in Boca Raton, Florida. What chances do you give your Rockets against the ranked Temple Owls?
This should be a pretty good game, I think. I think the Rockets probably have a little more on offense, but the Temple Owls have a good defensive unit. This should be an entertaining football game, and I'm going to give the nod to Temple because I think they're just a little bit better than my Toledo Rockets. So I'm going to take the Owls in this one, but I'll be rooting for my blue and gold and the Rockets all the way.
Temple is a 2.5-point favorite over your Rockets.
That sounds about right.
Over under 49.5 points.
I'm going to take the under on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the under on that. And I'm also curious to see what the attendance at this is going to be. I'm going to bet probably in the 25,000 range, if that.
Probably
thereabouts, right. Yeah. Plus, I think that stadium that FAU plays at's pretty small anyway, so it shouldn't look too terrible if it is a small crowd.
We'll move on to Wednesday night's action. The San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. Say that 5 times fast. In Qualcomm Stadium down there in San Diego, California. Boise State takes on Northern Illinois, two teams that have been the lower division darlings and made themselves into the big BCS bowls in the past, playing in the Poinsettia Bowl in San Diego. Boise State, an 8-point favorite over the Huskies.
Yeah, I got to think Boise State's probably going to take the easy win in this one, just because I think the Boise State just got more talent. Northern Illinois is a pretty good team for a MAC team, but I don't know that they're good enough to play a Boise State. I mean, they might make it competitive, but I think Boise State should win this one pretty easily.
Again, you would much rather be the loser of the MAC and go to Boca Raton or San Diego,
right?
Than you would if you were Bowling Green, who won the MAC. They're actually not playing in Detroit.
Oh, they get to go to Mobile this year.
GoDaddy Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Bowling Green, the champions of the MAC, will take on Georgia Southern, 8-4. The Georgia Southern Eagles.
I'm gonna take the Falcons in this one. I think they're pretty good.
Yeah. So they're a 7.5-point favorite, and I would probably
take the over on that 64 too. They're gonna. I think
64.
They'll hit that pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah. On to Thursday night, Christmas Eve. A couple bowl games in exotic locations. Middle Tennessee and Western Michigan. They get the joy of going to the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl on Christmas Eve. They get to play in the Bahamas
at Thomas Robinson Stadium, which I've never heard of.
It's probably a soccer stadium.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. Well, I think
Western Michigan, the Broncos, they're a 4.5-point favorite over Middle Tennessee. What is Middle Tennessee? The Blue Raiders.
I'm going to take the Blue Raiders in this one. I like their chances in this.
Yeah.
But again, a MAC team. You're Western Michigan. You go 7-5. You get to go to the Bahamas. Not bad. Not bad at all.
The other bowl game on Christmas Eve, as it always is, the Hawaii Bowl. San Diego State takes on Cincinnati at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. San Diego State only a 1.5-point favorite. San Diego State was undefeated in conference, going up against the what's Cincinnati now in the American Conference? That'll be
I think so.
Interesting game, I think.
Yeah.
The Aztecs and the Bearcats.
I think the Aztecs win this one. Cincinnati's just going to be too all about being in Hawaii to even care.
Probably. We move on to skip Christmas Day, obviously, go on to Saturday. UConn, how did they do? Did they ever win the civil conflict?
Let's find out really quick. That was
UCF?
UCF?
They won that game.
They won it 40-13. So they laid down the rivalry, and then they went down and said, "And we'll show you. This is our
we'll
big
make up this rivalry, and we'll take our rivalry." And UCF was probably like, "Sure."
And no one noticed. Yeah.
Well, that's right. UCF finished 0-12 this season.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Wait, were they playing UCF or USF?
No, UCF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did it was like the civil conflict, and it was they capitalized the C and the T in conflict and the F and the L.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and you picked the right team to do it to, a team that went winless all season. But way to go, bunch of tough guys.
But they get to play Marshall in the St. Petersburg Bowl.
Yeah, Marshall won that one easy.
In the Thunderdome, as I like to call it, but you know it as Tropicana Field.
The Big Sam's Club. Yeah, Marshall, easy win in this one for the Marshall Thundering Herd. No problem at all.
I would think so. Connecticut did give Missouri a run for their money this year, but Missouri didn't end up being very good. In the Hyundai Sun Bowl out in El Paso, Miami takes on Washington State. That's actually a sneaky good bowl game.
Yeah, that should be a really good one.
2 8-4 teams, the Hurricanes and the Cougars, playing down in El Paso. 2.5-point favorite are the Cougars. 61.5 is the over-under. I take the over in that one, personally.
I take the over and I take the Cougars.
I would take that as well. The other Washington school, Washington Huskies, 6-6. They get to play in the Zaxby's Art of Dallas Bowl in the Cotton Bowl against Southern Miss, the Golden Hawks. 9-4 on the season for Southern Miss. I'm
taking the Huskies in this one.
Yeah, they're an 8.5-point favorite.
Yeah, Pac-12 team against whatever Southern Mississippi plays in. I'm taking the Huskies all the way in that.
In the Coaches for Cancer Basketball Classic, New Era Pinstripe Bowl, Indiana and Duke.
Wow.
Coach K going to be out there going against, why can't I remember?
Indiana?
Basketball coach of Indiana.
Because he's the only one I can ever remember is Bob Knight, and he's been gone for years.
Bob Knight, that's what I meant.
Okay, yeah.
I know he's not the coach there anymore, but that's what I meant. Bob Knight.
I'm going to take. I would love to see the Hoosiers win this, but I'm going to take our Duke Blue Devils in this one.
The Blue Devils, 2.5-point underdogs against Indiana.
That should be a pretty good game, actually. Indiana played a lot of good teams tough this year. They lost every time, but they were fun to watch.
No, I'm actually interested in how that one plays out. Over-under of 71 points, though. I'm going to go with the under.
Yeah, I think so, too, yeah.
I don't know if those two teams can put up that kind of numbers, but it'll be an interesting one for sure. The Camping World Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Alabama, or Louisiana, excuse me. Tulsa takes on Virginia Tech, both teams 6-6. Tech is a 14-point favorite over the Golden Hurricanes.
I'm picking the upset in this one. I'm going with the Golden Hurricanes. I think they win this game outright.
Yeah, I don't think Virginia Tech's all that interested in going to Shreveport, Louisiana.
Right. Tulsa, I'm taking the Golden Hurricane. They have cool uniforms, too, sometimes.
The nightcap in Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, the Foster Farms Bowl. The UCLA Bruins take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. 5-7 were the Cornhuskers on this season. UCLA is a 6.5-point favorite. I take UCLA and the points.
Oh, easily. Yeah, I'm surprised that the line's that low on this. Bruins all the way.
The two games on Monday, the 28th. The Military Bowl presented by Northrop Grumman at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, Annapolis, Maryland. So Navy, another home game for them as they host the Pittsburgh Panthers.
They are going to just mop the floor with Pittsburgh, I think. I think they win this one easy. It's a home game for them. Yeah.
Yeah, Navy's a 3-point favorite.
Yeah.
And then the last one on our schedule, this is the one where the MAC champion used to go, but poor Central Michigan, they get to be the MAC representative in this one. At Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan, the Quick Lane Bowl, 7-5, the Chippewas will play the 5-7 Missouri Golden Gophers.
You know why they call it the Quick Lane Bowl, don't you?
Why is that?
Because that's the lane you're looking for after the game's over, the quick lane to get the hell out of Detroit. I'm going to take the Chippewas in this one. I think they win this game. Pick another upset there.
Sure. I'll go with the Chips.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
So that'll do it. For Greg, I'm Zach. This has been basically a football show. Follow us on all of our various platforms, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, etc., etc., etc. Listen to our other podcast, basically a geek show, basically a sports show. We'll be talking about the holidays and probably a whole crap load of Star Wars, The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I would say that the next basically sports show, the proper title would be the Star Wars / holiday special, because I think it's going to be a lot of Star Wars and a little bit of holiday.
Until then, enjoy the holidays and enjoy the football, and let me be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
That's right. Merry Christmas, everybody, and thanks for listening.
Takes the snap. He's back to pass. Steps up. Oh, it's a strip sack, and Arizona recovered it, and the Cardinals win. Are you kidding me? That's just like the Denver game. Are you kidding me? A strip sack. Teddy dropped it. Arizona wins 23-20. My God.